So we want to know the Miami-Dade MPO. Next, please. So what is a Metropolitan Planning Organization? An MPO is an organization that's created by the federal government to basically help ensure the smart and effective investment of limited public transportation dollars. And in any urban area of more than 50,000 residents must have an MPO, and as you all know, we have 2.6 million, about 2.6 million people, residents. MPOs are responsible for conducting the transportation planning process, of course, for the metropolitan area, which for us is Miami-Dade County. And the transportation process is assisted by the federal government, it's administered by the state, and it is locally driven by the MPO. So in the United States, there are 443 MPOs across the country. MPOs by state: Florida, there's 27. In Texas, we have 25. Pennsylvania, 20. And California, 19. Nationwide, we are the 21st largest MPO based on our population and the 32nd based on square miles. So that's nationwide. Statewide, we are the largest MPO with the largest governing board and based on our population, and we are the 5th based on square miles. And some of you may know, of course, I know Lee's looking at me, Palm Beach County actually has the largest square mileage, miles in the state. In fact, they're one of the largest counties east of the Mississippi, Palm Beach County. Miami-Dade MPO, we were established in 1977 by an interlocal agreement between the State of Florida Department of Transportation, Dade County Board of County Commissioners, and the Dade County School Board. And at that time, if you didn't know, the 13 county commissioners were also the MPO governing board members. So at one time, they were one and the same. We guide the transportation process in Miami-Dade County, and of course, as Eileen had alluded to earlier, we coordinate the programming of the funds. So this is our MPO governing board membership. There are the 13 county commissioners. We then have our elected officials, one from each municipality that has over 50,000 residents. Now there are currently a few municipalities, or a couple of municipalities, that are on that threshold. Coral Gables has always been right on the threshold with like 500. I know the city of Doral, I think, has hit the threshold, but they must wait till the decennial to then become an MPO, have a seat on the MPO governing board. But for now, we have the city of Miami, we have the city of Miami Gardens, we have the city of Miami Beach, we have Hialeah, and who am I missing?
Homestead.
And Homestead, thank you, Eileen. So we have 5. Then we have 4 others that are appointed by the governor. For the public schools, which is Ms. Perla Hampton. Yes, and we have a municipality within the county for kind of the League of Cities, the smaller municipalities. And then we have one individual who is a non-elected official, and then one in the unincorporated Miami-Dade County. We also have 2 non-voting members from FDOT that sit on the board. So, and that of course is headed by our executive director. This is the structure of the Miami-Dade MPO. And of course, at the top you have the MPO governing board. You have to the left, you have your Transportation Planning Council with the various committees that then advise the TPC, which is the CTAC, Transportation Planning Technical Advisory Committee, the Transportation Improvement Program Development Committee, the Long Range Transportation Plan Development Committee, the Unified Planning Work Program Development Committee, and then special task forces. And I know some things have changed, but right now that's the structure. On the right-hand side, this is where you all fall in. Citizens involvement and participation. You have the Citizens Transportation Advisory Committee, the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, the Freight Transportation Advisory Committee, and the Transportation Aesthetics Review Committee. Those are your sister committees to the right, and all of you advise the Long Range Transportation Plan. Here we have our partnering agencies, local, state, and federal, and as you can see, as Eileen was alluding to earlier, there's a lot of agencies that make up the moving parts of the MPO's transportation planning process. And it's important that each one of them are part and parcel of our planning process, and we work with on a daily basis. So you can see all the acronyms. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you see Florida Department of Transportation, FTA, which is Federal Transit Administration, and Federal Highway Administration. The top three, those are the big ones. And then, of course, some of the things, actually this week we just had to change MDT, and Public Works Waste Management is now the Department of Transportation, basically.
And
Public Works.
Is that RAR?
No. Miami-Dade Transit and Public Works have now portions of Public Works have combined to become the new Miami-Dade County Transportation and Public Works Department. So things are always changing. Interaction with our transportation partners, as you can see at the top, we are in charge of the system, project planning, and feasibility, while you have our other partners are in charge of the project design and right-of-way acquisition, project construction, project maintenance, and operation. I know that was a question amongst you all about operations versus planning, and this committee focuses on the planning, which is the MPO Governing Board. Again, I'm going to now hand this off to Oscar Camejo, as he's going to talk about the Unified Planning Work Program. But these are the main documents. There's other things, many other things that we're responsible for. These are the main documents that come to you as a committee to ensure that you review them. Norman, you were discussing those earlier. But we have the Long Range Transportation Plan, Transportation Improvement Program, and the Public Participation Plan. I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Oscar Camejo, who will talk about the Unified Planning Work Program.
Well, the Unified Planning Work Program, which we call the UPWP, or affectionately we call it the UPWP, which makes it easier, is a biennial program and lists the work activities to be performed by the MPO staff or member agencies. It is a federally mandated document. The current fiscal year 15 and 2016 Unified Planning Work Program lists about $11 million in efforts. This is what it looks like. It's online on our website. The document runs on the state's fiscal year, which begins in July. This one actually ends on June 30th of this year, and the new one will begin July 1st of this year. The activities include technical studies and other related activities that support transportation planning and improvement programs. It is divided by 8 elements: administration, data collection, TIP, LRGP, special project planning, regional planning, public participation, and systems planning. And these are the highlights of the program itself. The TIP, which Carlos, as the project manager, will speak to about, essentially specifies the transportation improvements for the next 5 years. The LRTP, Long Range Transportation Plan, is a 20-year planning horizon document, which Carlos also will be speaking of shortly. The General Planning Consultant, it's a pool of 5 consultants which are assigned transportation planning studies. The benefit of having a pool of consultants is every time you have a study to conduct, you don't have to go out and solicit through a RFP or request for proposal, which takes 6 to 8 months to get the study on board to submit a notice to proceed. Having 5 on board, we select one after they submit their best proposals, and we get the study going, and that saves a lot of time and money. The call for ideas, we've been doing this for many years. We started this, and other MPOs have taken to the same action. It's recommendations from our transportation planning partners. Essentially, we solicit the county and all citizens to submit ideas to us, and then we combine them and consolidate them, and hopefully sometimes a few of them do always make the cut and are made part of the Unified Planning Work Program. Regional support involves interaction with the Southeast Florida Transportation Council, called CTAC, Regional Transportation Technical Advisory Committee, RTAC, the South Florida Regional Transportation Authority, SFRTA, the South Florida Regional Planning Council, which is out of Hollywood, SFRPC, Broward MPO, Palm Beach MPO, FDOT, Broward County Transit, Palm Tran, which is the transit department for the Palm Beach County area, among others. As a matter of fact, every time you hear an acronym, one of the best, what's good about the Unified Planning Work Program, at the end, there's 2 pages of acronym listings, especially for those who are new. Half of government is knowing what the acronyms are, it seems to be. So you can take advantage of that and go to the last page of this document, and you can go and keep that almost with you as a Bible, because it really covers a lot of the acronyms that most government officials do speak of. It also has the Citizens Committees, it supports that. Of course, the CTAC, this body here. TARC, which is the Transportation Aesthetics Review Committee. BPAC, which is the Bicycle Pedestrian and Advisory Committee. And FTAC, which is the Freight Trucking Advisory Committee. It also has a public involvement program, which conducts outreach events. Paul is the one that goes out and meets with the people. Submits monthly e-blasts. Produces MPO annual reports. Continued work on the Transportation Outreach Planner. Produces the MPO Citizens Guide to Transportation. It's called On the Move. It's a little guide booklet. Updates and maintains the MPO website. Incorporated use of the Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Update the MPO's public participation plan. And also has the bicycle pedestrian program, which is reflected in the upload process through studies related to trail plans, safe routes to school plans, and involvement in complete streets and non-motorized projects. Under the Bike Ped program, there is an ongoing outreach and coordination through the school board, county, community traffic safety team, Safe Kids Coalition, Injury Prevention Coalition, Health and Built Environment Committee, Bike 305 Committee, Bike Walk, Friends of MPATH, and other committee groups. Also in the Unified Planning Program is what's called the Municipal Grant Program. This is where municipalities are solicited to submit ideas for transportation planning funding, and they compete and they require a 20% minimum, and those programs are incorporated into the Unified Planning Work Program. I'll be coming back to this board in April with a draft, the next Unified Planning Work Program draft for you all to look at, and then in May, the subsequent meeting for your endorsement. I really look forward for your input. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Carlos Roa, and I'll be talking to you briefly, not as long, about the Longrange Plan and the Longrange Plan LRGP and the TAP, I'm sorry. So the LRGP, it's a plan, it's a collection of projects, it has a vision, we do it every 5 years, and it's a mandate. Every one of those 447 MPOs that the list make reference to has to do one of these long-range plans. It's updated every 5 years, and it has to be multimodal. It has to include highways, transit, it has to include bicycles and pedestrians, and it has to have a freight component. Our transportation bills, the MAP 21 and the one that was just passed, the FAST Act, makes quite an emphasis on freight, because the transportation system moves people and goods. So this is the goods part. It depends, our economic viability is dependent on the same roadways that you use for transportation for people. So freight is having another emphasis, like I said. We developed this with our transportation partners. I'm not going to name them, but maybe I will name them. They are the Department of Transportation, the Miami-Dade Expressway 30, the Turnpike, the Public Works Department, and it also involves the Miami-Dade Transit Agency, the Port of Miami, the Aviation Department, the Software and Review Planning Council, the Software and Review Transportation Authority that actually runs Tri-Rail. And with that, this slide here, because we mentioned how Miami is a global hub, and competitiveness is important, our quality of life, social, keeping the environment and sustaining the environment. It is here too, because I mentioned we do the Long-Range Plan every 5 years. That is because, according to the Clean Air Act of 1991, we need to be conforming to ozone standards and other air quality standards. Well, we do. Starting in 2005, we became Miami-Dade and the whole state fully compliance. Before that, we were not. So we used to do the Long-Range Plan every 4 years. So this is a key that why we do it every 5 years and not every 4. We have good air, we can say that. Now, moving forward, we depend on forecasting a population, population and employment growth. When we do the Long-Range Plan, We looked at system-wide planning. We look at the whole system. We look at a web of roads connected that allow us to move within neighborhoods, within the county, connecting to other counties and other states. So employment and population, we have a baseline year. It was 2010 for the 2040, which, by the way, is this book that was approved, and it's online. It was approved October 23rd to 2014, and again, we do it every 5 years. It will be due again October 2019. So we look at 6 areas in the county, and we look at how the population they had in 2010, which coincided with the census, and then what is the population supposed to look like for the year 2040. So we see that each one of those areas grow at different percentages. The South has grown a lot. And if you go to the next one, Paul, we do employment, which is the same thing. I'm going to tell you why this is important. Knowing where people live and where they are going to live and where the land use allows things to happen, like, homes to be built, commercial establishments to be built, warehousing and all that, has to do where people are going to locate and things what are going to happen in the future. So why is that important? Because that way we can see what we have now with the infrastructure that we have now, where is everyone going to live and what potential employments are going to happen by the year 2040. Let's pretend we did not do a single project. We use our model and do a simulation of travel. We'll find out deficiencies, and some of the projects that we're going to need are going to come up, and be singled out. So we take those projects, we make a list. Some of you said 300 or 3,000. There are quite a few. Then we cost them out. Then, using all our goals and objectives, we prioritize them. Then we actually forecast our revenues, and we know that because we know there are monies that come every year from the state, from the feds, locally generated by the PTP. We match the cost of each project with the revenues and with the priorities that they ranked, and all of a sudden we have something called the cost feasible plan, which is the plan of projects, the list of projects that we can actually afford. So, if you can move, here is how we do the funding and groupings in the Longrange Plan. The priority one is the TIP, which I will talk to next. So those are the first 5 years of the plan. And there's where the money is, you can see them, it is tangible, it's the next 5 years of investment. Priority 2 is a 5-year band between 2021 and 2025. We have a series of projects that are here in the Longrange Plan. They're actually the projects that we can afford within that window of opportunity. Priority 3, 5 more years, and priority 4 from the year 2031 to the year 2040. Now, that priority 1, it is the same thing as the TIP. So the TIP are the first 5 years. The projects from they are in the TIP are all coming from the Longrange Plan. So the Longrange Plan is the universal project. They're drawn into the now. It's like taking projects from the warehouse to the actual productivity table is the TIP. Next. The reason why this is here, we talked about some limitations in funding and a lot of requirements from the federal, state, and local regulations onto what need to do and what needs to happen with the monies that the reason why this is here, we talked about some limitations in funding and a lot of requirements from the federal, state, and local regulations onto what need to do and what needs to happen with the monies that we collect in the Longrange Plan. Now we're supposed to advance freight projects, we're supposed to take care of congestion management, and we're supposed to have non-motorized facilities. Yet we don't have any funding that is specifically for those projects. So in this Longrange Plan, the board approved that we have some set-aside funds to promote some of these projects moving forward. So that's the reason why this is here. Now let's move to the TIP. So the TIP, again, is the first 5 years of the Longrange Plan. It's approved every year. We do a citizens TIP, a book that looks like this, that comes to you, and in fact started with you and this committee like 20 years ago. And It tries to simplify. I did not bring a copy of the TIP because we don't make copies of the TIP anymore. It's like 1,500 pages. You will get it electronically. But what we try to do is collect here and highlight the main projects that system-wide we are funding in the next 5 years and present them to you along with the projects that the previous year got completed and the ones that are, and they're in the back of this book, and the ones that are in the works, and by when are they supposed to be open to traffic. So you will receive that. It's coming. I'm supposed to come here to you early April. And again, this is something that happens every year. It is a living document, like I said. It needs to stay current. It can be amended any time, as long, same with the long-range plan. I mean, once it's approved, it doesn't stay like this. If a change is needed, if a new funding source is identified, if we can move and accelerate or move forward a project because we found some money, that can happen. This can be amended monthly if we needed to. Identifies the levels of funding by some funding source. Again, here it makes another connection, the same connection I talked about before, that the TIP is the first priority of the long-range plan. And it comes here every year, and what we do is, most of the projects you see year after year are not going to be that much different because a project, the first year of the current TIP drops out, and a new fifth year is added, and a project needs several phases of funding. So funding will appear periodically through the TIP every year. Next. So the TIP approval process, there is the schedule. I told you that we have a committee that actually helps assemble this, and we're going through that right now. It comes to the CTAC either March or April, and then I'll be here, and I'll come for your approval, and go to TPC in April as an information, and then they also approve it, and we normally go to the board in May, so we can send it to the federal agencies for their review in June. So this is typically the life of the TIP book every year. And with that, I am going to call Elizabeth Rockwell for the public private.
So you've seen the importance of how the Unified Planning Work Program is kind of our standard operating procedures. And then from that is the TIP and the LRGP, and they all build upon each other. The next very important document of the office that is a federally mandated document is your public participation plan, which comes to you every 4 years or as needed when it's amended. And so the PPP shall be proactive, provide complete and easily understood information, provide timely public notice, be fully accessible to the public. It's always on the website posted, so if anybody has any comments on it, and provide early and continuing involvement to the public. I do want to say also that Oscar's for the Unified Planning Work Program, one of the things that we do for the UPWP to ensure that we reach out to the community to get, for the call for ideas, to obtain transportation planning ideas, is we post on our Facebook, on Twitter, on our social media. So we go more high tech, and then we do kind of the low tech, which I really enjoy actually. Paul takes this around to all of the universities, all the campuses, all the colleges, and it's tear-offs. And we post this simple, low-tech document all over the campus. And you would be surprised at how many people tear off. And this is low-tech. So we have to remember when we're doing public participation and community engagement, it's not all social media. Okay? You have to do low-tech as well. And we are very cognizant of that and how important that is. So Oscar forgot to put this up, but here you go. So this is something that we're very actually proud of, a low-tech option. Okay, so next slide. And I want to just also let you all know, I know that Oscar had alluded to it earlier in the UPWP. The CTAC, which is the Southeast Florida Transportation Council. Really quickly, as you all may or may not know, the CTAC exists. It is a regional body that is formed by the 3 MPOs, that is Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach MPOs. They meet on a quarterly basis. Yeah, they meet on a quarterly basis. And they have a Regional Transportation Technical Advisory Committee. The CTAC is composed of 1 MPO board member from each governing board. So there's 3 members on the CTAC. For us, it's Barrero, and that is our regional representative on the CTAC. Then you have the RTAC, which then kind of mimics our system where we have the MPO governing board, then we have the TPC. That's the same thing. You have the RTAC, which is made up of all of the directors of the 3 MPOs, as well as staff, the DOTs, the regional council, the regional planning council, the Tri-Rail, SFRTA, Palmtran, BCT, and so on and so forth. So that's a pretty big group that meets also on a quarterly basis. And then from that, then they have the modeling subcommittee, the public participation subcommittee, which I'm a part of, the freight subcommittee, which Carlos is part of, the TSMO, which is the Transportation System Management and Operations Committee, which Wilson Fernandez is part of. So this is on a regional level, and I just want to say for the Miami-Dade MPO, we're very proud because for the 2040 RTP, so we just did the 2040 Long-Range Transportation Plan locally, but on a regional level, all 3 of the LRTPs fed into the 2040 Regional Transportation Plan. And I'm proud to say that the Miami-Dade MPO led that charge. So it was a big thing that we did, and very proud of all the staff that did that. Moving forward. So let's get to CTAC. All right, so here we are. This is your mission statement. The Citizens Transportation Advisory Committee is mandated by the state through the federal government to advise the Miami-Dade Metropolitan Planning Organization Governing Board on achieving quality transportation facilities and programs for the citizens of Miami-Dade County. Okay. So we're going to talk about real quickly where you all came from. CTAC was created in 1983 by, again, a federal state mandate to be part of the transportation planning process. Each MPO governing board member has 1 appointment. There will be a chair and a vice chair, a chairperson and 1 vice chairperson, which is a change. You will meet on a monthly basis before the MPO governing board. And that's very important to what Alexander had said. And you, of course, will operate within the Sunshine Law. Okay, moving forward. So CTAC's role. You are going to be evaluating the recommendations generated by the MPO's transportation studies and plans. So again, this goes back to the LRGP, the TIP, and the UPWP, and the public participation plan. These are your documents that you, and I've always stressed this to you, but more than ever, that's going to be more important. In addition, studies will be coming to you. So you'll have to bear with us, but we are going to be shifting some stuff, and that goes back to, Alexander, your question that I said I was going to address. You all are going to be meeting before the MPO governing board, not after the MPO governing board. It didn't make sense. Now, bless you. You're going to be meeting before so that you can make recommendations before, which makes complete sense. And how we're going to do that is Paul is going to be your coordinator. I, of course, will be supporting, and you have the support of Oscar and all of us. We're going to work as hard as we can to almost mimic the TPC agendas. That's your Transportation Planning Council, which is the technical committee. We're going to do our best to try to mimic the agenda, so that way the advice that they get from the TPC is for technical purposes, and the advice then on the same, hopefully the same items, will have a citizen's perspective. So does that answer your question, Alexander? So we are working on that. It's going to be a change, and staff is having to coordinate all this. And there's going to be a shift in mentality in the office. But we are going to be working on that and trying to make you guys as relevant as possible, which is something that we have been working towards for the past few years. Okay? Again, you're going to make transportation plan recommendations to the MPO governing board. So like Eileen said earlier, Norman, bringing something too early is detrimental, but we're going to try to bring it right on time to you. So again, that's following the TPC agendas and seeing what they're looking at is what you're going to look at. Okay? Your role is to engage community members to be involved in the transportation planning process. Eileen alluded earlier to you all being ambassadors. So that's something new this time. We are going to be tapping into your social media accounts, if you allow us, of course. If you have Twitter accounts or Facebook accounts, when I'm going to ask you all to please hook up to ours and follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, retweet, re-Facebook, whatever it's called, like it, do whatever. You don't have to, but we're going to be asking you to do that. So we want you to become ambassadors for us and help us get the word out. So you're not just keeping things right here in this room. You all need to be responsible for extending your reach in that manner. Does that sound like a good plan? Good. And then, of course, allow a forum for citizens to share their future transportation concerns and ideas, which kind of culminates everything into one.